Google Forms allow you to collect information in a survey style of format and then take it into a spreadsheet, which allows you to look at the data in different ways. So let's explore how to start by creating a form and then what happens to that data once that form is created. So we're going to do the exact same thing we've done in the past. We're going to go to New. Notice that form doesn't show up in my list here, but if I click on More, it's one of the first pieces that shows up. So I'm going to click on Google Form. It's telling me it's in a shared folder. I'm going to click OK. And it's going to take me to a brand new untitled form. Now I want you to notice a couple things as we look at this layout here. First, I'm in beyondthechalk.net. This is a GAF type of account. And so notice that I get some options. If you don't see these options right away, don't worry about that. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. The first thing I like to do is title my form. So I'm going to click on the title up here, and we're going to call this Jeff's first form. And we're going to click OK, and notice it titles that here. And I want you to also notice that it puts my first question in place. It creates a multiple choice, and there's lots of other items here that I can look at. So first and foremost, these are my form settings. So notice that I have the ability to turn some things on and off to allow different types of users to take this survey or to collect information about those individuals. So the first thing that you'll notice is that if I keep this checked, what it's going to do is it's going to only allow people that are signed into Beyond the Chalk to view this form. So if I want to send this out to anybody outside of Beyond the Chalk, this has to be unchecked. I can automatically collect their name. Now if I check this, notice that this also has to be checked because it's saying I'm going to collect their username. So for teachers that are inside a Google Apps for Education domain, this is a great way to collect your students' responses. Number one, to make sure that it's them responding, and number two, in case they forget to put their name in or they put a different name in, those types of things, we can collect that without them knowing. I can show a progress bar, so if my form is really long, I might want to actually check that to show that progress bar on the bottom. And I can also, again, only allow one response. If I uncheck this, only one response per person requires a login. So again, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to have these checked. Now, why would I do that? Let's say we have a class survey. We're voting on something, and I only want to allow one or each person to vote just one time. I can simply click here, and that's going to allow me to log those individuals. Again, they'll have to be required to log in. The last one here, shuffle question order. This works great if you have multiple sections of classes and you want to shuffle questions, or if you're worried about students looking onto another person's screen and checking their answers, what you can do is you can shuffle the order of questions here by simply clicking on this. I'm going to turn that off, turn this off. I'm going to turn all of these pieces off because I'm going to go in a little bit later and reply to this form here. So that's the first part, is figuring out what you want your settings to be. The next part then is actually setting up your form. When you set up your form, typically the first thing you want to do is to collect information about a certain individual. So for this first question, I'm just going to type in the question title is name, and for the help text, I'm just going to say first and last, because I want to collect the first and last name. And then I'm going to select question type. Now there are 9 different question types that you can actually turn on and off here in Google Form. For this one, it's just going to be a text response, a simple text response. Notice if it were going to be a longer piece of text than I would, or a paragraph, then I would select paragraph text. But for this case, I'm going to do that. Their answer is going to show up here, and then I'm going to click on required question, because what that does then is that forces them to fill out this question. They cannot leave it blank. I'm going to click on done, and my first question is now done. So to add another question, I simply come to add an item, and in this case I'm going to select text because it's going to be another item. I'm going to type in email because I want to collect their email as well. A text answer, again, I'm going to require this as a question, and I'm going to click on done. Now, a couple things that I want you to be aware of. If you're within your domain and you only want to collect within your domain, then what you could do is you could actually automatically collect respondents' username, and that would collect their Google account name. So that's an easy way to do that. In my case, I might be sending this out to parents, and so or students, and that don't have an account in my domain. So I'm just going to kind of force them to put that in here. Now let's say I'm creating a form here for my kids' first year back, and I just want to ask them some questions. So the first item that I'm going to just select here is called choose from a list. Now this is a little bit different than the text-based question. So what is your favorite color? And I'm going to put it here. I don't need any help text. And I'm going to select here, we're going to go blue, and if I hit my tab key or my enter key, it goes down to the next question. Red, orange, yellow, green, pink, and I can just keep adding those. Now the thing you have to remember about the choose from a list, I don't have the option for other. All right, so let's just say that I'm going to just select these, 6 colors here, and they have to. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this a required question, click on done, and you notice that this is going to give them the option to only select one color. So it's a little bit different. So I'm forcing the choice here for my students. Now I'm going to show you a checkbox item because that's going to be a little bit different. Again, what is your favorite color? Favorite color, and this time I'm going to make it a checkbox. Now notice I can do the exact same thing, so we're going to go blue, red, orange, green, pink, black, and in a checkbox I can add other. Again, I'm going to make this a required question, and then I'm going to click on done. So now what you'll notice is that on this first question here, which is choose from a list, I can only select one. But in a checkbox scenario or checkbox type of question, I can select as many of these as I want, and I can also add my own color here if I wanted to. So if I click back here on add an item, we've gone through the basic text. The paragraph text again is just a little bit different. Let me go ahead and add a paragraph text here. Me about yourself. And again, I'm going to make this a required question. Click on done. And now you see that this is just a larger text box here. So those are some of the basic questions there, those simple and easy ones in this first list here. You notice that it lists advanced over here on this side. These questions are a little bit different. So we're going to stop here for this Google Forms basic piece here with these questions. And then we're going to search these in just a little bit. I did want to show you one other thing here that you may have noticed here. I'm going to go back to email. You notice that I have an advanced setting option here. So what we can do in Google Forms is we can do some data validation. So let's say, for example, I want to make sure they enter a valid email address. So I'm going to click on this, and you notice that these items were grayed out until I selected this. And it's going to say, okay, what is this? A number, an expression, or text? This one is text. Notice I can select email address. And if they don't put in an email address, sorry, try again. So that's going to look for that @ sign. It's going to look for a domain name, something.com, and I can do it that way as well. So if you're looking for a certain type of validation, you can come here to advanced settings and figure that out. So if they don't enter that correctly, they're going to get this text message right here. So that's really the basics of setting up a Google form, entering your question types, and going from there. Now notice one other thing here when we get down to the bottom. I can show a link, so if I want them to submit another response, this would be if you want to have multiple responses. I can look for, or I can publish and show a link to the results so people can actually view the results, and I can allow them to edit. Again, this helps if you have selected up here that they have a respondent or you've collected a username. we can do that. You can also change your response here. So this is the default response, but I can enter whatever information I want to in here. I can also add a link. So if I want to take and send them somewhere once they submit the response, I can do that as well. So that's the basics of Google Forms.